Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is just me super chill. I'm literally just like relaxing on my bed. I think most of you will know London Fashion Week has just been. For any of you guys that don't know, I'm a model. I do more high fashion stuff like runway, editorial. So this season I did London Fashion Week again, and I thought I'd talk you guys through my experience of London Fashion Week this season, from like going to the castings, the fit-ins, the shows and everything like that. I did ideally want to film throughout the week, but it was just so, I don't know the word, it's just the week of castings and shows is just a huge roller coaster of emotions, and it's so hectic, it's chaotic, you never know your schedule, you've literally got to make time to eat, to sleep. You have to dedicate time to that, otherwise you won't do it. Finding time to film was obviously a huge struggle because I didn't. I think I filmed one clip. It's a couple weeks later now. I thought I'd just sit down and talk you guys through it instead, because I feel like a lot of you guys like to see and hear about my modelling jobs and what I'm up to, what I'm doing to modelling. I can see why it's quite interesting to hear about. Not everyone is lucky enough to be able to do it, and a lot of models don't share their experiences in the industry, so I kept track of like all my castings and fit-ins and shows and that in my notes so that I can refer back to it when making this video. My week of castings actually started on the 15th of February, which was a Tuesday, and the shows began on Friday, I think. The day of my first casting was also the day my period came, so that was just such lovely timing. As if the week isn't emotional and stressful enough, my body just decided to challenge me that one bit more. It was fine. That was kind of the least of my problems that week. So as you might know, the castings are normally shows take place all over London, north, south, east, west, wherever the client decides to hold the casting or the fit-in or where the studio is. My sister and her partner kindly let me stay at theirs for the week. They live in London, so it was a lot easier and closer for me to get around from theirs. Drove to theirs on the Tuesday, and I also knew I had one casting that day. Castings, normally you get like a time slot. They normally say, oh, we'll see models for instance between 10 AM and 3 PM, so you can get to that casting whenever kind of suits your schedule best. It can happen where you get a like time that you have to be there, but that's normally for fittings rather than castings. So I was planning to get there at like 3:30. I was going to drive to my sister's first, and then catch like a bus or train to the casting so that I could avoid the congestion zone. But as I was like halfway driving to my sister's, I got an email to say that the time of the casting had actually changed and it was now finishing at 2 PM. So I wasn't going to make it if I drove to my sister's first, so I then had to take a detour and go to the casting first. I had to pay the congestion zone charge, but luckily it paid off because I did actually get the show. So yeah, I then headed to the casting, did the casting, met a couple of friends there. That was so nice to see again. That's like one of the best parts of Fashion Week, is seeing like all your friends again, or the people you usually hang around with during fashion weeks, because you're all going to pretty much the same castings and sometimes you get the same show as them, and you also feel like a little bit less alone. Not a lot of people can like relate to your situation, so like family and friends wise, if they're not all in the industry, so it's kind of nice to hang around with people in a similar situation to you as well. I'll insert any clips I got from the first day here. It is like gale force winds, proper raining. I just went to my first Fashion Week casting, and I wanted to vlog London Fashion Week again. Let's see if anything comes from it. Fingers crossed I get some nice shows. I'm in my car with my whole life packed up because I'm actually staying at my sister's for the week. She lives in London, so it would just be so much easier for me to go to like last minute castings and that from hers instead of travel back to mine. So now I'm about to carry on driving to hers. It's about another 40 minutes. So yeah, anyway, I had the casting, then drove to my sister's, and that was me done for that day. Apart from the last minute change of times, it was a pretty relaxing day for me, a nice one to ease into Fashion Week on. My schedules were coming through anytime between like 5-6 PM until midnight. I was knowing about new castings for the following day. I'd even wake up to some emails saying I've got another casting that day. You really have to make sure you're checking your emails, your texts, your phone just all the time so that you don't miss anything. I think around 9 PM that night I got my schedule through for the next day, and I found out I had 3 castings for the Wednesday, and these castings are all over London, so I might have to go from like East London to North London to South East London, which by they normally give you like time time slots so that you can kind of organise your day and find out which casting is better to go to first, which is closest to the first one, which is then closest to the second one. I like to organise my day if I can, if I have enough time the night before, just so I have a rough idea of where I'm heading first, what trains or buses I need to catch to get there, what time I need to leave there to make my second casting, things like that. So I found I had 3 castings for the Wednesday. The first one was between 12 and 3 p.m. The second one was between 12 and 5 p.m. and the third one was between 4 and 5 p.m. The last 2 were actually like opposite each other on the same road, so I thought I could go to them like one after another. But as I left my first casting, which didn't go that well, I'm not going to name all my castings apart from the shows I got. The casting I had on the Tuesday was Poster Girl. My first casting on the Wednesday, I actually walked that show previously in another season, so they asked me to walk. And often at castings as well, they'll ask models they like the look of to stay and try things on, and they'll either use that as your fitting or they'll then call you back for another fitting if they liked what they saw when you tried stuff on. There were a lot of girls at this casting, but I got my chance to walk and they said, okay, would you mind like staying behind and we'll try something on you? And I was like, yeah, of course. And there were about 10 girls waiting to try things on, so I knew I was going to be there for about 2 hours waiting. Obviously I needed to be in other places as well, but often if you're trying things on, it's kind of best to stay there and try things on because it means they're like considering you for the show. I was like, yeah, of course, I'll wait. 2 minutes later they come back out with my card, so you take these cards with like all your measurements on, photo or photos, which you give to the casting directors every time you meet them for a casting, so they have like all your information on one card. They come back out with my card and they say, oh, actually Morgan, you can go, and they give my card back. So yeah, that was, I don't want to say embarrassing, and it was in front of all the other models that were waiting to try things on. So yeah, I guess it was a little bit embarrassing, but I don't really get embarrassed over that stuff because I kind of just think like, on to the next, let's forget about it. But yeah, it was just a bit of a sting, I'd say. And as I was in the lift down to leave the place, I got a call from one of my bookers saying that the casting I went to the day before, the Poster Girl one, wanted me back for a fitting that day at 3 p.m. That threw my schedule off. I then had to travel to my second casting where I would have also stayed to do my third casting, but I only had time to do the second casting. Then I had to travel to the fitting back to where the casting was the day before. So the second casting, it didn't go that well. I walked and they just basically said thank you, bye. You can never truly tell because I've had them situations where I think it went really rubbish and I get the show, but most of the time if they just say thank you, bye, and the designers not even watching you walk when you do your walk, it's not normally a good sign. But the casting director was super nice for that casting, but yeah, unfortunately it didn't go well. So then I had to run to my fitting, and again I was waiting for a really long time. There were a lot of other girls waiting to be fitted, so I ordered myself some food to the casting because I hadn't eaten a thing all day. I had breakfast and that was it, and at this point it was like 3:30, 4, so I needed to eat. I ordered myself like a Mexican bowl, had that, got to do my fitting, I want to say around 4:30, 4:45. I tried on 2 outfits and I thought it went horrific. I just headed home because I had missed the time slot for the last casting, and my booker said it's fine, they're casting again tomorrow, so I could go the next day. So I went home and I was a little bit sad because I thought it didn't go that well and I really wanted the show. But at about 9 p.m. again, my booker texted me to say I was confirmed for the show, and honestly when you get that text or email through that you're confirmed, it is one of the best feelings in the world. It makes me so excited for the next day. I'm always wondering what look I'll be in, especially if I tried on multiple looks. I'm wondering what their hair and makeup will be like, what the actual runway will be like, who else is doing the show, how many models are all doing the show. It makes me feel really lucky and grateful that I was chosen for that show, because like going to the casting, going to the fitting, you see how many models are trying for that show. So to find out you're confirmed is just a really like blessed feeling. I think the call time was 9 AM and the show was at 1 PM. completely ignore what I just said. I didn't find out I was confirmed for the show that evening because the show was on Friday. That fitting was Wednesday, so I found out Thursday evening that I was confirmed. So just scrap what I said. So anyway, that evening I got my schedule through for the next day, and I found out I had 5 castings for the Thursday, and they were all over London. I knew it was going to be a hectic day. My first casting was between 10 AM and 3 PM. The second casting I went to was between 10 AM and 1 PM. The third casting I went to was between 10 AM and 6 PM. The fourth casting I went to was between 1 PM and 5 PM. And the fifth casting I went to, you could either get there between 11:30 AM and 1 PM or 3:30 PM to 7:30 PM. Yeah, that was a long day. I felt like my castings went pretty well. I tried on something at nearly every casting apart from the last one. The last one I was there for so long, like 2 hours, and I walked and they just said like, thank you, bye, you can go. And it was late and I was tired and I was hungry, and it was not the best feeling in the world. But the others, I felt like they went really well, which is funny because I never actually confirmed any of them. So that evening I found out I was confirmed for the Poster Girl show, and I also got a casting through for after the show and a fitting. Insert clips and pictures from the show. The outfits were so cool, like so bright and colourful. My casting was between 2 PM and 6 PM, and it was actually with the same casting director who cast that show that I just did. I felt like that casting went really well. I tried something on, and then I went to my fitting. I was a little bit late for my fitting, but it was only around the corner, so it didn't really matter, and there were already girls waiting to be fitted. And again, I thought the fitting went pretty well. The designer seemed to like me, and then I didn't get the show. So even if you go for a fitting, you're not guaranteed to get the show. And then my booker rang me to say that one of the castings I went to the day before wanted me to do a fitting that evening, and it was over the complete other side of London, far from my sister's place and far from where I was, and it was about 5:30 at this point, I think, in the evening. And also this was during Storm Eunice, I think it was called, so the weather was horrific. I was battling the winds with my curly hair, so it was not a good mix. I had to go for my fitting, which was an hour and a half trains, buses, journey, walking. It was meant to be at 6:30. I think I got there around 7 PM. I stopped and grabbed a couple snacks on the way, otherwise I would have passed out. I got to the fitting and I thought these people really liked me because I tried something on at the casting and I've got a fitting. There were quite a few people waiting, so I was waiting around for a while. I finally got my time to try something on, and the vibe was just off. Like, the designer wasn't there to watch me walk. They didn't ask me to walk in the outfit. They were just trying to style the outfit, took a picture and then said I could go, which is not normally how fittings are. If they like you, they normally fit something on you, like pin it if it needs to be adjusted, take like your shoe size, take pictures of like details of the clothing so they know like what side the bag sits, or if you have earrings in, or what your shoes are like. But they didn't even ask me to walk in the outfit they tried on me, so I knew that was not a good sign. It just really annoying. I really wanted to do the show, but maybe next season. So at that point it was now about 8 PM, maybe 8:30, and I got an Uber back to my sister's place because it would have just taken so long, and I think it was like a 40-minute Uber journey. Then that evening I found out I had 2 castings for the following day. The first casting I had was for a show that was actually later that evening. It was crazy. The casting, fitting, show was all in one day. The casting was at 11:30 AM. Obviously there were a lot of models. It was basically they'd got all the models they wanted to see were there at the same time because the show was that evening, so they needed to get things done as soon as possible. I was waiting there for around an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, and then we all got to walk and they only asked a few people to stay behind to try stuff on. So then I headed to my next casting, which was about 45 minutes away, and just as I got to my other casting, my booker gives me a call to say they want me back for fitting in half an hour. And I just got all the way to this other casting, so I had to then leave the other casting before being seen and travel all the way back to the first casting location. Obviously it was a bit late for the fitting because it was a 45-minute journey and they wanted me back in half an hour, but it didn't matter because everyone was there for their fitting. Obviously the show is the evening, so they were just fitting everyone at the same time, and some of the clothes weren't even ready or they weren't there. So it was very hectic, it was very stressful. So I think I was waiting around an hour and a half before I actually got seen for my fitting. Did my fitting, they really liked it on, and I found out I was then confirmed for the show. That was a Quinn show. Everything was going on at the show location. Straight after my fitting I went down to hair and makeup, had my eyebrows bleached, had my hair and makeup done, and then it was time to change into our outfits and do the show. And we did a rehearsal before getting changed into our outfits, but I actually rehearsed in different shoes to the ones I wore on the show. When walking the show, it was my first time actually walking in them heels, which was a bit daunting. I didn't want to mess up, but luckily it was fine and the walk was super slow anyway, so it was such a great experience. There were so many major models in that show. The outfits were insane as always. The show was at 8 PM, so quite a late one, and I would say any like pictures and videos from that show.
Good. You're doing two people's, aren't you? Good.
And then after that show I went and met my sister and her friends for something to eat and a little celebratory cocktail, and then I went back to hers and slept. Before I went to bed I found out my schedule for the next day. Obviously I didn't make one of the castings that day, so I had to go to that on the Sunday, as well as a fitting for one of the castings I had on the Friday. So my fitting was at 10:40 AM in the morning, so I went there first. I felt that that went well, and then I headed to my casting, which was between 11 and 7 PM, just around the corner from one another, so that was really easy. I thought the casting was going well and it just didn't. I then went to my agency. I had to pick up more of my modelling cards. I just went in for a chat as well. At the agency they then told me I had another casting that I had to go to in like half an hour. That was between 1 and 2 PM. Just as it was my turn to walk, the designer had to get up and have a conversation with someone else, so they didn't actually see me walk and was told I could just go. So yeah, that one didn't go well. Then I went to meet my friend for some lunch. We had a nice catch up, and then I headed back to my sister's and just chilled for the rest of the day. It was kind of nice to have like an earlier finish. And then that evening I found out I was confirmed for the Roxanda show, which was the fit-in I had earlier that day. That was for the Monday the day after. The call time for that show was 8 AM. I think the show was at 12. That was a really fun show. It was probably like the calmest one. We were all ready an hour early. The hair and makeup I really loved as well, and I actually got to lead the finale, which I found out after the rehearsal, so I hadn't rehearsed like the finale walk with me leading it, which was kind of scary as well, but luckily it was a pretty easy walk. It was really fun to lead the finale. I'll insert some pictures and videos.
Okay, so like your skin, nails, hair.
And that was my London Fashion Week complete. I then took my sister and her partner out for dinner on the Monday as a little thank you for letting me stay, and I travelled home on the Tuesday and literally just chilled for the rest of the week at home, unpacked all my stuff and caught up on sleep. But yeah, I had a really fun London Fashion Week. Sometimes it can be really disappointing, it can be really hard, be really emotional, but it's always my favourite time of the year. Shows are my favourite type of modelling to do. I just love the instant buzz you get straight after the show. I feel really grateful and lucky to have bought them shows, and I can't wait to see what next season brings. Hopefully I'll be a better vlogger. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I don't know if it was a bit boring me just chatting through it, but I honestly did not have time to film or think about filming from casting to casting, show to show, and it would have been pretty much the same anyway, me just saying I'm now going to another casting, now going to another casting, now going to a fitting. I can't really show you guys anything at the casting or fittings. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!